Unfortunately, there are no large-scale studies of car reliability in Russia, but you can always turn to German organizations that have a network of service centers and service more than 10 million cars annually, as well as keep statistics of breakdowns. It is quite difficult to make a single universal list of the most unreliable cars in Russia, but it is always possible to collect models often mentioned in reports from among those relevant to Russians. In this rating, we will try to take into account not only the number, but also the quality of breakdowns. Today there are 6 of the most unreliable car models in the release that will definitely empty your wallet. The Skoda Octavia of the second generation opens our rating. It was this generation of models that was seriously affected due to Volkswagen units during the reorganization of the company, the TISA and TIF turbo lines, as well as the DSG robotic transmissions. Breakdowns often occurred during the warranty period. Both mechanical failures and failures of control electronics. The classic 4-speed automatic was also sometimes capricious on small runs, to what there, even the manual transmission required adjustment. The situation improved after the 2011, when all the motors and boxes were gradually upgraded, but you must agree, the sediment remained. Otherwise, the car was not terribly ill. To a certain extent, these words also apply to other Skoda models of that period, for example, the Superbu. Therefore, when buying a car of this generation, be extremely careful and check everything down to the smallest detail, but even such a check may not save you from upcoming breakdowns. The 5th line is occupied by Peugeot 308 of the first generation, and here the questions begin with the quality of the paintwork and uneven gaps between the body parts. But the problems did not end there. Almost all engines eat oil. The most popular atmospheric 1 and 6 suffered from rapid chain stretching, failures of the electronic control unit and valve timing systems. And turbo engines are no better. Characteristic vulnerabilities for all 308s, water pump and thermostat. Brake pads and front shock absorbers wear out quickly. The electronics are weird on the gearbox, the hydroblock suddenly fails. In general, the set of sores is abundant and unpleasant. It is not easy to find a tenacious combination of the motor and the box on the secondary. Atmospheric 1 and 6 looks preferable in combination with mechanics, at least some reliability. As a result, there were fewer problems after the modernization in the 2011 year. We see that this year was a turning point for all companies, and the 2020th is not Lego at all. On the 4th line, unexpectedly for you, a Ford Mondeo of the 4th generation. And then the lion's share of the nightmarish statistics falls on the robotic power shift box. Those who have encountered it know that its repair costs simply astronomical sums, although it is not yet the most brittle at selective in the world. But there are also questions about the 2-liter EcoBoost engine, which was marked by the burnout of the pistons. Unsuccessful steering mechanism designs plastic sleeve and is erased in record time. In addition, there are problematic nodes in the electrics. In general, enough. Kuga crossovers have a similar reputation, where, in addition to the robot, the turbodiesel fuel system and all-wheel drive electronics often flounder. After the 14th year, the situation returned to normal and the eternal sores were eliminated. Chevrolet Spark opens the top 3. There are no special complaints about the transmission and engines, apart from the massager, which manifests itself with age. But this model is still among the worst in almost all age categories. It is extremely unreliable to call the suspension, except for the spring of the shock absorbers. There's even steering, exhaust system and a personal brake system for Spark. Our car was sold both as a Deo and as a Chevrolet, including an Uzbek assembly, the unstable quality of which has additional claims. As a result, the suspension, steering, braking system, all this is capricious more often than you would like. Therefore, before buying, I strongly recommend thinking carefully. We are going further. In second place is the Nissan Qashqai of the first generation, and this is not at all the Qashqai that everyone liked. Motors 1 and 6 and, to a greater extent, thin-walled 2.0 are prone to the occurrence of rings during continuous operation in urban modes. Engine 1 and 6 in combination with the Jatco variator, whose diseases come out after 20,000 and who barely lives to 100, is not the most rosy combination on the secondary market, believe me. And a 2-liter engine stretches the timing chain to 80,000 kilometers, and after 5 years of operation, the crankcase pan, which is fixed on a sealant, very often begins to leak. As a result, gasoline atmospheric tanks, primarily 2-liter ones, do not differ in high reliability, especially with constant operation in urban mode. Qashqai also changes the loose front suspension, short-lived steering rack, squeaky plastic, windshield depressurization, weak paintwork and other unpleasant trifles. The main thing is to draw conclusions, but do not forget that in the 14th year almost all the problems were eliminated, at least there were significantly fewer of them. Well, let's move on to the first place. And the leader of today's rating was Kia Sportage of the third generation. Yes, he is a regular outsider of the German reliability ratings. The list of complaints is long and varied. Automatic transmission, shock absorbers, steering, all this fails more often and faster than you would like. Many suspension elements have a very low resource. Claims to interior materials. The plastic bulges and rattles, the seat handlebars are erased, the doors hang, and the sunroof often jams. The suspension of used sports cars requires constant attention due to the low resource of many elements. The basic is an atmospheric gasoline engine 20 Series W4CD, and fortunately, he is not among the most problematic. Although he also noticed floating revolutions, phase failures of the regulator and cases of bullying due to the destruction of the neutralizer. Well, as usual, after the restyling, a lot of problems were eliminated. All of the above does not mean that these models should not be bought at all. Each of them has its own advantages. For example, the same Sportage in numbers means that in a calendar year in Germany, about 20% of owners of 6 to 7-year-old cars faced some kind of breakdowns. That is, 80% of the cars had no malfunctions at all. But anyway, indicators above 12 to 15% are considered a low level of reliability, and statistics are statistics. Write in the comments about what you agree with and what you don't, and which car you personally would add to this list. Also, don't forget to like if you like this rating and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ahead of the latest news and interesting ratings in a variety of categories. You are on the channel about cars. See you soon.